Okay, hi you guys. First, I would ask the questions now before a lot of them start coming in. So somebody actually asked a question earlier, how to use Mandelic acid, whether to keep it on or wash off after a few minutes. Mandelic acid, which is derived from almonds. If it's an actual acid, like peel, acid solution, first of all, follow the directions on there. If it's a professional level one and you've never used a peel before, then you have to, I would only use it at the least amount. So typically, if it's a professional peel, you don't want to go any more than 7 minutes. That's like very generally speaking. How many times a week should I use hyaluronic acid? I used to take it every day. Okay, so do you mean like apply it or actually take it as a supplement? Because you could actually use both. Vitamin C should be placed before or after hyaluronic acid. Okay, so vitamin C is actually very different because it depends on the type that you use, because there's very different ones. There's oil soluble ones and then there's water soluble. And some of the vitamin C is actually a vitamin C derivative that should always go on directly onto your skin after you exfoliate. Let it dry before you layer onto the next one. The ones that have vitamin C serum with hyaluronic acid, so typically it will be vitamin C, ferulic acid, and hyaluronic acid, or vitamin C, vitamin E, and hyaluronic acid. If you're using, like, let's say you're using tretinoin, or vitamin A, that goes on first, and then the vitamin C. But if you're just using a vitamin C serum, that always should go directly on the skin. Wait for about 10 minutes for absorption rate, because if you use vitamin C serum, not a vitamin C derivative, but vitamin C serum, and then you put hyaluronic acid serum on top of it, you're diluting the pH of it, and that vitamin C has to be acidic for it to be effective. I have pimples on my jawline and at times it's very itchy. Oh, that kind of sounds like Gua Sha, but if you're not wearing a mask a lot and typically you have breakouts on your jawline, that is generally speaking, and I always have to say it's generally speaking because I don't know your skin, is that's androgen driven. So that means stress. So men and boys will typically always get it here because, they have higher testosterone levels. When women get it on their jawline or up here, it's typically because of stress, because when you stress, you produce more androgen in your blood, which then leads to more testosterone, and the sebum in your skin gets thicker and it's stickier. Dark age spots on my nose and your cheeks. Nothing seems to work to get rid of them. What do you recommend? If that's age spots, then you do have to exfoliate every day, typically with something, if you don't have sensitive skin, with glycolic acid. You have to make it acidic and exfoliate. If you can find exfoliation products that have phytic acid, which is derived from rice, and then after you rinse that off and then you put the lightener on there, that actually helps increase the lightening agents. What is the best chemical peel for dry skin with closed comedones? I'm wearing a mask, so that's probably related to acne. Congestion. So that's glycolic acid will be the best. But glycolic acid tends to be more reactive with people who have sensitive skin. So if that is you, then start lower. Start with an acid that has a bigger molecule. Do you think it's okay to use different active ingredients every single day? Again, that depends on what the product is, what your skin type is, how oily your skin is as well, because if you have drier skin, the acids tend to work, they penetrate faster. There is to prevent acne related to premenstrual syndrome, hormone related. Thanks. When you have red breakouts or red breakouts with pus, those are usually bacteria driven. When you have white, when they're closed comedones, that's a congestion issue. That's a desquamation issue. The desquamation is the rate of your skin cell turnover rate. So you have to use glycolic acid to speed that up, because the dead skin cells are clogging the pores, versus the red ones, that's bacteria driven, okay? So, and fungal acne looks different. I don't know how to explain it, but if you Google what fungal acne looks like, that is yeast overgrowth. I use sunscreen. Every wrinkle I have accentuated. My skin is very sensitive. I have to use mineral sunscreen. I'm at my wit's end. Zinc oxide is typically what you're using, and because it's a physical sunscreen and it could be titanium dioxide, it stays on top of the skin. What you may want to do is use the one that is it's reef safe and micronized. So they're smaller particles, okay? They're nanoparticles, but they are reef safe. So you got to look at that, because if it's nanoparticles and it doesn't say that it's reef safe, then obviously it's not. So there is a more advanced one, and the one that I'm familiar with, I don't know how they label it here, but it's like the scientist that developed it is called Shintetsu. Serums are exfoliants to reduce pores. Okay, thing about pores is the pore size is genetic. However, you can minimize the appearance of your pores. Generally, if you have larger pores, the best way to minimize the appearance of the pores is to exfoliate regularly. And the best way to do that is with an AHA and BHA combination. So glycolic acid, vitamin A, the retin A, and or doesn't have to be both, and salicylic acid. Why no matter what cleanser I use, my skin always feels stripped? You got to look at the ingredients. So if it has any type of sulfates in it, that's going to typically strip your skin. And you'll see more of that in cleansers that are for oily skin. If you see things that have coconut-based or coconut sugar-based foaming agents, it won't do that because it won't strip your skin. Can glutamic acid powder be used in do-yourself serums? That depends on the recipe of your serum, because you have to use stabilizers and emulsifiers to dissolve it if it's like the powder form. Do you consider salicylic acid, glycolic acid, etc. natural or plant-based products? Okay, so a lot of them are plant-based. So like, for example, glycolic acid is derived generally from fermented sugar. Lactic acid is typically from fermented milk. And salicylic is from willow bark. But some of them can be manufactured in the lab now. I can't choose between lactic acid, azelaic acid, and glycolic acid. Which one do you prefer? Well, again, so it depends on your skin type and what other products that you are using before that step. I mean, you could do glycolic acid cleanser and a glycolic acid peel or glycolic acid leave-on if your skin is acclimated to that and your skin is not sensitive. If your skin is sensitive, if you are a Fitzpatrick 1 or 2 skin type, if you don't know what that is, go ahead and look that up. Then you're going to have to start with maybe like a more gentle form. And when it means gentler, the molecules in the acids are smaller, so it can't penetrate the stratum corneum as faster and dissolve the dead skin as well as the sebum. And you can find peels that actually are combination, so you can work your way up if your skin allows it to build up that tolerance. For nighttime, I exfoliate 3 times a week. I use a peptide 2 times a week at night, and retinoid and hyaluronic acid. Once morning, I use green tea, vitamin C. Oh my gosh, that's a lot. Okay. So again, I don't know your skin. You have to remember, if someone's routine makes their skin look amazing, it doesn't mean that it's going to make your skin look amazing, because everyone's pH is a little bit different. And like I said before, on the pH scale, like let's just say from 6 to 7, that doesn't sound like a lot, but it is actually a lot. Melasma is the same as hyperpigmentation, Saudi Arabia. So Garima, I think that's right. You can use the same ingredients, but when somebody has melasma versus just some uneven skin tone, let's just say, I'm covering the whole spectrum of skincare. Melasma is the toughest to treat versus somebody who just has uneven skin tone. If you have just uneven skin tone, with using the right exfoliator, using it regularly and consistently at night, will even that out. But hyperpigmentation, or I should say melasma, especially if they have darker skin, you have to go slower. And that's what's really frustrating for a lot of my clients that have it, is they want that instant result, and you're not going to be able to get that. Do you offer in-person consultation? I do, and it's on my website, Go See Christy, CHRISTY, beauty.com. And I take specific types of clients. So if you are somebody who likes to experiment and try things and bounce around, this really is not for you. This is somebody who can follow directions very carefully and is patient. What's your opinion on NIOD Superoxide dismutase saccharide mist? I haven't tried it, so I don't know. Also, again, it just depends on your skin type. What skincare routine would you recommend for combination oily skin in the winter? Oh, that's a good question. I live in a cold climate. So you can, so this is one thing that I do with my clients is that depending on your skin type and your climate, you can actually use 2 different cleansers as well as moisturizers depending on what your skin is telling you. So you have to look at skincare products like clothes. So the hotter it is, you're going to wear lighter clothes. So you need lighter based products. And then if you're in a season where it's kind of hot one day, cold the next day, going back and forth, you can use the lighter products. So for example, hyaluronic acid gel would be for the days that you're sweating more. And then like, let's say the next day you're just using that, but then the next day it's cold and your skin feels kind of tighter because you're producing less sebum, then you can work your way up to a milk moisturizer if you have oily skin from a water-based one. And then for those of you who have drier skin, you use a heavier cream. And you can even mix and match the areas of your skin. So the T-zone will get the lighter products, and then the cheek area, which is typically the drier area, you will get the heavier products. How do you deal with pigmentation on lips besides using sun protection? Well, okay, so it's kind of interesting with the pigmentation on lips is you can use, don't use the leave-on ones because you're obviously your lips are, you have a different type of tissue there and skin, it's thinner. So I would use like a scrub that has maybe some lactic acid, like the Illuma. Here, I'll put this in here. It's the Image Illuma exfoliating powder. That one works really effectively because lactic acid is very hydrating. So you have to do that consistently. And then you have to wear a lip product that has sunscreen in the lip product. So try to look for one that doesn't have the chemical-based sunscreen, and it's using zinc oxide and titanium dioxide as the sun protection. Would you recommend women in their 30s receiving fillers? That is a personal choice. I don't like to tell people what to do for the, I mean, you know, it's what you feel comfortable with. Korean skincare in general. Okay, so in general, it's just like American skincare. You have your lower end ones and you have your higher end ones. The advanced ones are really good. I feel like the Korean, as far as the advanced skincare, the scientific based ones are more advanced. The one thing I don't like is they do like their fragrances. I have found that Asian skincare brands and European ones love their fragrances. Just because it's K brand skincare, it does not mean that it's good. You still have to look at the ingredients just like you would with any other skincare. So congested skin after using beta hydroxy for about 3 months. Oh, the reason why you have congested skin with beta hydroxy acids is because that's not what it's for. You have to use AHAs, so alpha hydroxy acids. So what that means is use a glycolic acid scrub that you would use in the evening. So beta hydroxy acids are not as effective as dissolving skin as that's more for dissolving some skin cells and oil, but glycolic acid is usually better for that. So and indoor, so I should use hyaluronic acid, and indoor, so I should. No, you could use hyaluronic acid. If you have dry skin, you can use it. You just have to put on a lotion or something to keep it from evaporating on top. You may want to use the polyglutamic acid. That might be better for your skin. Are toners essential? Okay, they're not essential. Toners are not essential. It just depends where you are, the climate that you are in, and what products that you are using. When I'm in a hurry, I do skip the toner part, but I personally use my specific toner. There's some toners for breakout prone skin that actually make it worse because of the witch hazel. And it depends on the ingredients and the pH of it. Some toners are created to increase the efficacy of the serums that you're using, and other ones are simply just like a dry, like a mist. Like some people have sent over like ingredients list, and it doesn't do much, and it just adds one extra step. So it just depends on that particular product. Nanoparticles SPF is really bad on your skin. Does it really cause cancer? I have not seen any papers, published papers on that. So if you actually have found them, please put the link below. Would recommend for anti-aging with sensitive skin. Sensitive skin is very complicated because everyone's definition of sensitive skin depends. Anti-aging, because a lot of the anti-aging, what falls under anti-aging is typically things that increase the skin cell turnover rate. So I'll give you an example, and this is very, very generally speaking. If you are looking into retin A for anti-aging, I wouldn't start right off with retin A. Maybe I would start off with retinol or glycolic acid or even lactic acid first, then lactic acid, glycolic acid combination, or lactic acid and salicylic acid second, and then maybe to glycolic acid, then to retinol, and then ultimately, if you can tolerate and you like it, you can do retin A. But retin A is not the answer to everything. I don't use retin A. I can't use retin A. I can't even use retinol. So it just depends on person. Can you recommend a glycolic acid exfoliant? But I don't personally like the leave-on exfoliants unless it's like I've treated people who have back knee, like really bad acne on the back, or like congested bumpy skin on the chest or the back of the arms, then a leave-on glycolic acid product works well with that. For the skin, there's a very small percentage that is, but I like the one that's called this one here. You can look it up, and I don't know what country you're from. And this isn't the only one. But that one has a blend of glycolic acid, salicylic acid, phytic acid. There's different acids in there, but they also have anti-inflammatory products in there, and you can use it. It depends on the cleanser, but you can use it in your cleanser. You can use it straight as a scrub and a mask. So for those of you who need to build up the tolerance of the acids, it has more flexibility than just a rinse or just a leave-on exfoliant, which can be really upsetting to the skin if you have sensitive skin. Fragrance are just so irritating. Don't have to make the product smell good, but some ingredients called fragrance and have benefit for the skin. Across the board, fragrance is not bad, but a lot of times they don't explain what the fragrance is. Like with me, with some of the clinical companies that I work with, I actually ask them, you know, have you tested this on sensitive skin? Like, what does it do? I have a lot of hyperpigmentation clients, and when interact with UV exposure over time, they start to get that kind of, it's called fragrance-induced hyperpigmentation because it has a certain look to it. True Skin Vitamin C has high rating at Amazon. Do you recommend it? I don't know. I haven't tried that one, so I can't give an opinion on that. Let's see, Dana. The texture of my face does not look smooth. My face is oily, but not bumpy. You still have to exfoliate, it sounds like, because you've got several, layers of maybe dead skin on there. Is the percentage of active mineral ingredients like zinc and titanium important? Yes, it should be around 20%. Also, is non-nano best for your health? Doesn't go into your bloodstream? Possibly. I like the micronized versus nano. So micronized basically means it doesn't, it's smooth. It doesn't have that like white cast, but it's not nano. What about after dermal rolling care? How fast to layer vitamin C serum and hyaluronic acid? Thank you. Again, for sensitive skin, if you have sensitive skin, I don't recommend dermal rolling or vitamin C together because your skin can get irritated. I will be doing a video on a nano pen, which is much better than dermal rolling for generally the general public. How effective is vitamin A on Fitzpatrick 5 skin? So that, for those of you who don't know, that's on the darker end of the spectrum. Okay, so effective vitamin A Fitzpatrick 5 skin for what? So for anti-aging or for hyperpigmentation or for congestion of the skin? This is dependent upon the skincare line that you use, because some skincare lines are pretty advanced. So you can use their advanced serums as an upgrade to boost the efficacy, or if you're using machines. For those of you professionals, because I know I have a high amount of professionals that watch my videos. Okay, when somebody comes in and they want to do a more aggressive service like a peel or microdermabrasion with peel, and this is your first time working with them, I don't ever do that on someone that just walks in and says, I want a microdermabrasion, because you're the professional, they are not. So you have to assess their skin, and then you have them do a facial, see how their skin responds to that facial, and then have them come back to do a more aggressive, because you have to see how their skin responds. Okay, live in Georgia. What kind of hydration can I use for dry skin in winter? Here in Georgia, it's cold. So if the humidity is high, you can use hyaluronic acid. You may need to use a toner on top of that. Use a hydrating serum that has a high amount of humectants. Then you put the toner on top, because those humectants need that moisture. So molecularly, it's going to be attracted to that moisture. And then you're going to use a cream on top of it to keep it from evaporating on the skin. If you have oily skin, then you may even want a hydrating serum that's cream-based for those of you who have oily skin in the winter. Is zinc really good for healing the skin? Yes, I took it for. Oh, you mean ingesting it? As it heals the skin, help my rosacea also. But is it recommended to take it daily? Yes. And then you don't want to take zinc when you take vitamin C along with it, because it will decrease the absorption rate of the zinc. So you have to look at your multivitamin if it has vitamin C and zinc. You have to remember, people, when they sell the multivitamin, it's because people want convenience. So if it has a high amount of vitamin C and then it also has zinc, don't take it, because you have to wait at least 30 minutes, I think, or even orange juice. And you know how sometimes grapefruit juice can decrease absorption rate. Is snail mucus useful? What does it do for your skin? Snail mucus has a high amount of humectants, just like anything else. It also has some polysaccharides in there. There's nothing magical about snail mucus. Moisturizers came from gel form and emulsion form. Okay, so that just depends on your skin type. So water-based gel type moisturizers tend to work, not always, but tends to work better for more people who have oily skin, because their issue is not lipids. They're not lipid poor. If they're using acne products, water-based moisturizers tend to do better with people who have oily skin. The cream-based, more solid forms that are lipid-rich, oil-rich tend to do better with drier skin. Sean, can you please tell some of the ordinary acids for layering for melasma? If you're just going to use ordinary and you don't have sensitive skin, and again, I'm talking generally speaking, then go with the glycolic acid leave-on. Then you can layer that on top of it with the arbutin if you would like. A couple of my clients had melasma. They were using arbutin, and then they were using also hydroquinone, and they were, just a combination of things. Arbutin works better, it seems like, over time. It tends to like fade, but then it gets to a certain point and then they need something stronger. Now, the people that I'm talking specifically about, they were Fitzpatrick 4 and 5. And also arbutin is better for managing hyperpigmentation like in the summer. Are fermented rice products good for the skin? It can be, because it has phytic acid, and phytic acid is a tyrosinase inhibitor. So tyrosinase is an enzyme that we make, and it helps turn the melanin to turn brown, or darker. The thing with fermented rice, because of the byproducts of it is sugar, some, not all, some skin types tend to break out. So then they say, I thought this was good for my skin and I'm getting more pustules. So obviously for those types of people, it doesn't work for their skin. Also, if you're using an alkaline cleanser, so that means the pH of the cleanser is a 6 or higher. So if they're using an alkaline cleanser and they don't use anything acidic, and then they put the fermented rice wash, even people who have normal skin, they'll maybe start to experience some pustules, and that is why. because their skin's pH is not acidic to start off with before they put that fermented rice water. Clinically, what is best for peeling for all skin types? There's no such thing as really for all skin types. There are products that work good for most skin types, but I've never come across a product yet that is like for all skin types. It's kind of like I used to explain to my clients, it's kind of like a tube top. So for those of you who don't know what a tube top is, it's a top that typically women wear that like just covers like their bust area and then maybe down to their midriff. And, you know, a tube top will say for, you know, fits all sizes. Okay, come on. No, not really, right? Some women are, you know, bustier, so they need a larger one to, you know, have more coverage. So there's nothing that's all. But if you want to start off one that works better for most skin types, then it would be lactic acid. How does one deal with products labeled applied to clean, dry skin in desert type weather? Using vitamin C seems especially irritating in this dry environment, combo oily. So let's say you're exfoliating, right, to increase absorption rate of any type of serums, and then you're actually using vitamin C, which is the L-ascorbic acid, okay? So that's a low pH. And then you are using, let's just say, a chemical sunscreen, and then you're exposing your skin to UV rays. That's where you can get irritated. So even though they say to use vitamin C during the day, depending on what your skin type is and what you're using before and after the serum and where you live, for you, I would use actually a vitamin C derivative. So maybe like a vitamin C serum with hyaluronic acid and a derivative, so it's more milder. You're still getting the benefits of the vitamin C. You won't see the results as fast as vitamin C, but then you'll decrease your inflammation. And the hyaluronic acid will help with the moisture, just as long as you put something on like a hydrating sunscreen moisturizer. So that will keep the hyaluronic acid from pulling, you know, trying to pull that moisture from deep within your skin to the top of your skin. Drier climates they're just harder on your skin. If I'm using ordinary vitamin C serum and niacinamide serum, does it cancel each other out? It seems to have done wonders for my rosacea. Okay, so you don't want to use the zinc with the vitamin C. So use one at the other end of the spectrum on the, you know, one on the opposite end of the daytime. So one is at daytime, one is at nighttime. I'm Asian and I think glycolic acid is not good for darker skin. Some docs suggest using alpha-arbutin, then niacinamide, then azelaic acid, vitamin C, then gram-active retinoid, and lastly, moisturizer. The darker your skin is, the simpler you have to get, because darker skin, when it gets inflamed, instead of turning red like the lower spectrum of the Fitzpatrick scale, they turn their hyperpigmentation. So that's a sign that the skin is inflamed. To answer your question, this also depends on if it's summertime or wintertime. I would skip the azelaic acid or use a rinse-off product, you know, that you would use as exfoliating, then put the vitamin C, then the gram-active retinoid. But again, it depends on, because when you say Asians, there's Asians that are very, very fair skin to all the way to very, very dark. So, you know, it just depends. How do I get rid of my hard whiteheads on my sensitive skin? Okay, if it's super hard, it sounds like it's like milia. What you may want to do, Joanne, is, okay, if you've already used lactic acid and the lactic acid is not working for you and your skin is not reacting to that, then find a product that has lactic acid and not a straight glycolic acid, but a combination of the acid, so it's kind of diluted more. Then use that once a week. Then the following week, use it 2 times a week. No reaction still. 3 times a week, and increase the frequency of it. That's what peptides to look out for. You are going to see, if you haven't already, those of you who are already in the profession, is you're going to start to see more peptides and more EGFs, which is epidermal growth factors. And I have a video that's, you know, coming out for that with that one. Are the microcurrent home use devices helpful long-term for lifting the skin? Yes, but to a certain extent. And LED light home devices, are they powerful enough to see the results? That's a really general question because it depends on what kind of light that they're using and how really powerful it is. You'll have to remember a lot of the at-home devices are for home use, so they can only go to a certain point. And then the ones for professionals are obviously much stronger because they are trained in it, and they're also trained in the type of skin that you have. And after assessing the health of your skin, what your skin conditions are, can they make the decision for what type of light to use on your skin? So that's the difference. Under eye lines, what should I use? Okay, so here's something that's a little bit complicated with under eye lines. Are they fine lines that when you are expressionless, you don't have the fine lines, or do you have the fine lines when you smile, or are they actually wrinkles? Because what I've learned doing this for over 12 years is some people consider their wrinkles that are actual wrinkles fine lines. And some people who don't have any lines, but when they smile, those are actually fine lines. And then if you have oily skin, the creams, the eye creams, that typically may have higher amount of peptides in them or some collagen stimulating ingredients in there will work, and other times it does not. Because I've had people say the retin-A didn't work for their fine lines, and then other people said the vitamin C worked better for their fine lines. So it just depends on the type of skin that you have and what type of ingredients are in the product. Oh, and how long you waited before you started using products on your skin. Bad for melasma skin problems. No, microcurrent, now be careful now, microcurrent is different from radio frequency, okay, and light therapy. And then even with light therapy, are you using blue light? Are you using red light? But microcurrent can actually increase the absorption rate. That is what I found. If you see some of my videos that I have on that, you can actually see it really like a visible change on their face. Where do you have your store? I am in Massachusetts. Oh, you're in Massachusetts. I actually had a brick and mortar store in Southern California, and then I retired last December, and I only do online. Because I had no life. I mean, I was working 14 hours a day, so now I do online consultations with virtual, they start off basically, my online consultation basically is they have to answer a very extensive questionnaire. And then after I assess that, I have them take photos of their face, and it gives specific instructions on that. And then I meet with them. And then after two to 3 weeks or 4 weeks even, depending on what condition their skin is after the protocol, I do a video analysis of their skin where it's kind of live and I can see their skin, and then monitor their progress. And sometimes I have to take out a product, change the product out, skip a step. It just depends because everyone is so different. I have acne-prone skin, and where this cold weather, my hyperpigmentation really shows up and looks purplish. Any advice? I think my skin is perpetually dehydrated and not well moisturized. Janelle, I would want to know what kind of skincare product you're using. Purplish, that is like long-term inflammation. I'd have to see it, but when you get to like purple, that's heavy-duty inflammation. What can I layer with my peptide serum at night? Can I use retinoids with it? Okay, so that depends on the retinoids. Do you mean like straight up retin-A or like a cream, or what do you mean? Algae extract, platinum, gold, and caviar that usually in luxurious skincare product. Okay, so this one is an easy one. Okay, so algae seaweed extract. That is a binder. They use that, and it's also a humectant. Some people who are very sensitive to iodine can break out with that. And so you know who you are. And there's also different types of seaweed extract. There's red algae, brown algae, green algae. But it is a humectant. You can actually see some of it even in I don't know why. Well, it makes this ice cream thicker. You'll see it like, sorry, I'm bumping the table. Carrageenan. So it is a very healthy humectant and a thickener. You see it in a lot of different products, even like in food too. And it's also anti-inflammatory. So I actually eat a lot of it. If you've ever worked with seaweed before, the certain type called wakame, it's like plush. Gold is also an anti-inflammatory as well. Caviar. So the reason why they use caviar is because of the cholesterol that's in the caviar. And obviously, for obvious reasons, it's expensive if they're truly using caviar. It's because of the cholesterol that's in and the fatty acids that's in the caviar. What do all of these anti-aging procedures seem impossible to do even if you could? There's so many different ways. There's so many different skin types that not everybody responds the same way. So I am not somebody who is a proponent of you must use this one anti-aging and it's good for everybody, because all professionals out there know, if any professionals out there know, if you have experience working in all different skin types and you're thinking, man, I hate when people say this is the holy grail. There's no such thing as the holy grail, because if you actually worked on thousands and thousands of skin types, you know that what one ingredient may work really well with one skin type may not work well with another skin type. So there's no such thing. Think about the ordinary moisturizing factors and gram-active retinoid emulsion. Acne people who are using lots of things to absorb their oil, that moisturizing factor, for some of them, they actually really broke out. And then I had this one client who was using a lot of water-based products. We got their oil and water balance really good, and the moisturizing factor was okay, but they didn't break them up, but what they didn't like is it made them too shiny. So I said, okay, why don't you use it just on your cheeks and then keep using the gel-based one, my hydrating gel treatment, on the T-zone, and that seemed to work. And again, it depends on the person. Let's see, what do you think? Oh, I already read that. How so does rice water really lighten the skin? If yes, how should it be applied? Okay, so when you're lightening the skin, it's not just one product. You have what I found best with, generally speaking, with most of the clients is that you layer the different lightening products on the skin, because when an ingredient absorbs into the skin, you have multi-layers in the skin. Each layer that it goes into, it dilutes the ingredient. Less and less goes in. And the irony of it is more of it needs to get into the source of where the melanin or the pigment is formed. So just using rice water, just using phytic acid, just using hydroquinone or whatever typically has limited results. Are PRP plasma facials really good for the skin rejuvenation in the long run? Okay, that is a very good question. I actually tried to look this up. There is studies that the skin is responding well to people who have used this not just once, when they were in this clinical study. Long-term, I could not find a paper what's considered long-term. Okay, so clinical trials typically are in increments of 4, 6, 8, and 12 weeks. Typically, some of them go longer, but that is the standard that you'll see. So when you say long-term, I'm not sure. I have not seen it. So if you have links to papers that do, please put them in the links. What is the opinion on sunless tanning products? I started wearing sunscreen every day a few months ago, but now I look really pale and I prefer the tan look on me. So sunless tanning products basically use an ingredient. You'll see it in all of them. And it basically, the protein and sugar in your skin, it works with that to turn it tan, right? Sometimes orange, depending on the ingredients that you're using. It's fine. I mean, because it basically, as your skin sloughs off, that's why you get that uneven color or whatever. It works on the surface layer of the skin, so it should be fine. Melasma worse. Should I use blue light device? So microcurrent If it's on low, and if you're using something like Myolift, it actually helps even out skin tone. It is anything that has heat in it that can increase the pigmentation formation. Blue light tends to work better with oily skin or breakout prone skin, I have found. I'm 69 and my skin is pretty good shape. Good. Spot on my forehead that I can switch this weekend. It still has stuff exfoliating off. Okay, that's because you're constantly making new skin cells. I could do it every day and it's still, I guess, still flakes come off. Yeah, I mean, that's normal. I mean, Linda, have you checked to see that it's not actinic keratosis to make sure that it's not precancerous? High frequency facial treatments. They tend to work better on saggier skin. Okay, so you guys, if you guys watched that video that I had last week about the high frequency, so I actually even brought it here on this trip because I have to use it for 30 days straight. You guys look. If you watch my other video on when I started to use it versus here, it does work. Go look on that one video I did on the skin tightening one. So it's working. You can tell. Okay, you're an excoriator. There's a name for that, acne excoriate. Oh, well, I mean, obviously when you're constantly picking, that's more of like an emotional or, emotionally driven, like when you're bored, when you're stressed. I think that is not really, like, I am in the business of, helping people with their skin, but that is more, I mean, my question to you, Lorena, is do you notice when you tend to do that more, like when you're bored, when you're stressed out? And then try to treat it from there and actually see someone as far as maybe a counselor for that, like what your triggers are. What do you recommend to keep your face glowing? Okay, so this one is, again, it's that oil and moisture balance and where you are as far as, are you in a humid climate? Are you on an arid climate? Arid climate is harder. I have found to treat. Arid climate is much harder. Your skin just likes humidity more. I've noticed here, I don't have to layer on as many products here than when I'm in Southern California. That's for sure. So when it's humid, your skin doesn't need as many products. So for the face, I've been using a facial oil. Lymph nodes slightly turning less bumpy. I'm wondering if it actually works. So basically with facial massage, I mean, it stimulates circulation, microcirculation. So of course that's going to help. It also helps with, with like lymphatic massage. That also helps. It can help with swelling and puffiness of the face. So obviously you have to do it correctly. But again, there's only a certain amount that will help with that. Are fermented products essence good for skin of color? Fermented products basically can help with the increase of the skin's natural microbiome of the skin. So obviously if your microbiome is off and you have more bad bacteria than good bacteria on their skin, then you can experience breakouts or fungal acne or eczema or psoriasis. So it can help, but as far as like skin of color, it has nothing to do with that. It's what is the natural microbiome of your skin. Country and I have oily skin with dehydrated, saggy skin on the surface. What is the best skincare? I can't use creamy creams. Like I said, so hydrating things can help the skin. Give us glow. It can increase the texture of the skin and the surface level. But if you have like saggy skin, and it depends on what you mean by saggy, because what I've learned in this industry is when people use descriptive words to describe their skin, it's really subjective. So it can help firm up the skin to a point. But let's say, I'm just going to give an example. Let's say you have jowls. There's no cream that's going to perk up the face enough to no longer give you jowls. It can help the appearance of the skin, but to use something just for jowls, no. What is your favorite cleansing oil? What are your thoughts on micellar water? Micellar water tends to help people who are breakout prone. Cleansing oil works better people who have oily skin and no breakouts, so they don't break out as much. Or if you're using an oily based or thicker based makeup or concealer. What is your opinion on the ordinary peeling solution? That works for some people's skin, but it's not really like the product per se. It's how people use it and with what combination. So the videos I did with one in particular, the two people that I particular were using that, they were using it the wrong way. So that one, that was that beauty vlogger. If you haven't caught that one, it was stop, I can't remember what it's called, stop doing this or something what beauty vloggers do. So in that one particular, she was in her early 30s and she was overdoing it because she heard exfoliating was good for the skin, and it is to a point, but it just depends on how you're using it. And most people are using that product incorrectly and different pairing. Would you suggest some good screen for oily skin, darker skin, and breakouts? It depends on your skin type, but zinc oxide, which reduces inflammation and doesn't tend to clog the pores if you're also exfoliating, is good, or a combination. So part physical, part chemical. Overall, I always recommend physical for, generally speaking, for overall, but there are some skin types, oily skin types, that do better with a combination of the sunscreen. Helps skin look younger if used consistently. For example, drinks like Skin Aid. I'd have to look at the ingredients of the Skin Aid. There is some studies showing that if you have a consistent type of collagen, that helps with certain types of collagen, because it's not just collagen. There's collagen 1, collagen 2, collagen 3, collagen 4. So there's certain ones that do help stimulate some types of collagen. To remove my eye bags. If you have puffiness of the eyes, so some puffiness, there are some eye products that help alleviate that. You can look for things that have vitamin K and caffeine that can help alleviate puffiness, but not eye bags. If you have straight on eye bags and it's genetic, you're going to have to use invasive procedures such as surgery. You can even use the microcurrent to really help alleviate that. But if it's pretty heavy duty, you're going to have to see a doctor for that. What is the vitamin C that I use? Okay. So I was using the SkinCeuticals to do a 30-day review on that one. Now I'm using this other one, and that one it's like 600 or 5,000. I'm not really sure. It's times more powerful than vitamin C and more stable. So we'll see about that one. Flawless skin producing vitamin C serum, reducing pores. So remember, reducing pores, you can't really reduce the size of your pores. I mean, you can somewhat, you'll minimize the appearance of it. And a lot of it has to do with exfoliation. And then what type of vitamin C that you're using. Because we talked about it earlier, vitamin C, it depends on what type of vitamin C. Is it actually vitamin C, or is it vitamin C derivative? Because some people respond better with the derivative than the actual vitamin C. Acne marks, post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. If you use, okay, what I have found with what you're saying, I have found if you use a rinse-off based glycolic acid, phytic acid combination exfoliant, and then you use a lightening serum on top of it consistently, that works better for what it looks like your skin type is just from your thumbnail there. Vitamin E reduce dry fine lines, and is it hydrating to skin? Can it improve my skin condition? Straight up vitamin E depends on how much vitamin E is it. Is it a vitamin E in a vitamin E like oil or cream? And it typically, in the definition of hydrate, which is to add water, if it's in an oil emulsion or like cream, it doesn't hydrate, it moisturizes the skin. So yes, it can help improve the surface level of the skin. I never used retinol. Should we start which company is more good? I'm 40 plus. My first question to you is that if you are used to using acidic products, then you are more likely to be a good candidate for using retinol. If you've never used any type of acidic product, you may react to the retinol, and it just may take you longer to build up a tolerance to the retinol. If you're going to use the retinol, always use sunscreen and always use it at night. I am surprised at how many people still are not aware that they should use the retinol in the evening. And well, sunscreen is, more people know about sunscreen generally speaking, but as I'm doing more of these online consultations, I am surprised at how many people are using retinol during the day. Oh, I'm 52 years old, and my question is, how many products can you use in the AM and PM for mature skin, and which one? I mean, obviously everybody has to use a cleanser and a moisturizer. It just depends on like what your primary concern is, where you live again, and what skin history that you had. That's a big one. Applying skin care, turn dark and sallow after applying skincare. I would have to see your skin, Amina. That's a really specific question. Do you apply it on your neck, the skincare products on your neck, and does your neck turn dark too? So if you have sensitive skin, that may be a form of when a fair person uses something and their skin turns like pink or red, it may be some inflammation going on. But again, because I can't see your face, it's only based on what you are telling me. Dry shale, sometimes twice a day. Feel dry after the shower. Arby, are you using a moisturizer afterwards? And if you do, make sure your skin is slightly moist. So not completely dry, but slightly moist. And then apply your moisturizer. And that will both bind the water as well as help seal it in. At night, could I apply ascorbic acid, then vitamin A palm mixed with jojoba and aloe gel? Is that something you're making, or is it an actual product? Because it's not just about the ingredient, it's the percentage of it and what type of product it is. Meaning, is it a cream? Is it a gel? Is it a serum? So I understand that you guys are being focused on the ingredients, which you should be, but a lot of it has to do with what the ingredient, how is it in that formulation? Okay, different is fine. I mean, if you're using it for the treatment of, acne and breakouts, I mean, just as long as you use sunscreen, I don't think there's anything wrong with different when you use it as directed. I don't ever recommend using different or Epiduo or any of those things long term. No sunscreen, thank you. I would recommend, it depends on what you mean by active ingredient for sunscreen. Is it a chemical or physical? But if it's a physical, I would recommend like 20, 21%. That's a good amount of sunscreen on there. I've stopped using scrubs for a while, but micro tears are still there. Is it a permanent issue? Whoa, what kind of scrubs are you using that you use micro? I mean, are the micro tears visible? Because you must be scrubbing really hard if it's like visible. Anti-aging serum. Okay, so if you're outside a lot, I'm assuming that it's really sunny, then I would use more vitamin C products. Again, I have to look at your skin. If you're finding that the hyaluronic acid, your skin looks more dehydrated, then maybe using products that have more, you may need to layer more, or using things that have polyglutamic acid in there because it creates a film in there, or like the beetroot powder that creates a hydrofilm in there. Anything that has a form of humectants and polysaccharides in there, it creates this nice film over the skin. Mist during the day, thank you. Hydrating facial mist, if your skin, well, what's in the facial mist? If it's just water, like a lot of times hydrating mist will be like rose water, rose essence and water. Well, if it's dry climate and you're just putting water, it's just going to end up dehydrating your skin. If it has some type of like kind of like a film forming thing on there, it's fine. If you're in a real humid area, you don't even need the mist, really, if it's like really humid. Okay, so I guess that's it for now. So I'll just end it there. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit this down. And what I do with the edits, it takes a long time, but then we put timestamps and then we put the links of what you're asking in there so you can go back and then refer to it. So I found that that's helpful based on the DMs that I am getting and the emails that I'm getting. So that will help as well too. Well, I haven't done really a lot of the lives. I just was testing it out actually the last time. So I think I'm going to do them once a month because as more and more comments come in, I don't see a lot of them because there's just so many of them. So I do this so at least if you can actually catch me live and you have a very specific question, then I can answer them. Okay, so I'm going to end it right there. I hope you guys found it helpful, and then I will talk to you soon. All right, bye guys.